Source close to former Vice President Mike Pence says he is evaluating his options after a federal judge ordered him to testify about then President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. This is part of a Justice Department special counsel Jack Smith's investigation. But guess who's back? Back again. Niall Stanage. All right, White House columnist for The Hill. I just wanted to see you laugh, Niall. What's going on?
That's one of the best introductions in all our time of doing these conversations, Adrienne. So I'm glad to be here and glad to see you.
You are very welcome. Okay, so Niall, the former VP, he'd been fighting this subpoena. I think he'll appeal this particular subpoena.
It's very possible that he will. At an earlier point during his time making these sort of faux campaign stops in Iowa, he has said that he could take this all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, he did do an interview yesterday, and it seemed a more guarded sort of view he had of all this. He was noting that the judge accepted a part of his argument, even though the ruling went against him. So he is taking a few days to just evaluate his options.
Well, the judge apparently limiting parts of his testimony. He doesn't have to talk about the actions he took on January 6, 2021, if he does testify. But how do you think all of this will affect the 2024 race?
It, I think, causes difficulty for the former vice president if he becomes a candidate. He has been trying to walk a tightrope with rather limited success, I think, Adrienne. On the one hand, being very critical of former President Trump in relation to January the 6th, and on the other, proclaiming himself proud of what he calls the accomplishments of the Trump-Pence administration. There's not a whole lot of sign in the polls that that is working. And in fact, a really important point, I think, is if you look at those polls, the unfavourable ratings for Pence among Republicans are much higher than for any other frontline candidate in 2024. I think that points to the challenges he has here.
Well, and there were apparently expected to be challenges for former President Trump as well, though he just seems to rise like a phoenix from any drama. A spokesperson for former President Trump saying, in part, the Justice Department is continuously stepping far outside the standard norms and attempting to destroy the long-accepted, long-held constitutionality-based standards of attorney-client privilege and executive privilege. Now, Vice President Mike Pence did not argue for executive privilege. That was squarely on President Trump. But why do you think that didn't play out the way he expected?
Two reasons. One is that the executive privilege normally resides with the sitting president, which I agree is quite peculiar, but obviously President Biden isn't going to invoke it to protect his predecessor. The other, I think, more critical point is that courts have held that inquiries into January the 6th are just so important that there isn't a big enough counterbalancing argument for executive privilege. Even the Supreme Court, which obviously has a conservative majority, including 3 justices nominated by former President Trump, has at times accepted that argument in effect. It has declined to intervene on Trump's behalf for other related cases in this respect.
Really quick, because I know we got to go, but on a I don't care to this is so crucial scale, I don't care being a 1 and this is crucial being a 10. Do you think the American people are at a 7 or a 4 when it comes to how much they're invested in the results of this subpoena and further discussions on not only January 6th, but on the 2020 elections?
I think when we're gauging that concern-ometer, I think it's different on the subpoena to the broader question. Do people care about Mike Pence and the subpoena? That's a 4 out of 10, maybe. Do people care about January the 6th and what happened and the inquiries into it? That's much higher. 8 out of 10.
Niall Stanage, you're always a 10. Thank you so much.
And you, Adrienne. Take care.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.